The grand archives of the Galactic Council floated inside a crystal sphere the size of a small moon. Its walls shimmered with light, holding the stored history of thousands of worlds and millions of years. Every ship that came to the archive passed through gates guarded by fleets. It was the heart of galactic memory, and the vault of many buried truths. Velric moved silently down the long, silver hall. He was a young archivist, barely into his second century, young for his kind. His eyes, dark and curious, scanned the rows of glowing data spires. Each spire contained knowledge from 100 worlds. Most researchers came here looking for trade records, treaties, or family histories. Velric came looking for something different, something dangerous. He had heard whispers in old research circles, mentions of a deleted record. An entire species, once present in the archives, had been removed, not simply hidden, erased. It was said the Council had voted for total deletion thousands of years ago. Only rumors remained. The name of the species had been lost, but sometimes, in the static of old recordings, a strange word surfaced. Earth. He found the restricted section and slipped in his access crystal. The data spire before him lit with red warnings. Unauthorized inquiry will be reported. Velric ignored them. He had learned long ago that history guarded too closely was history worth finding. The records were fragmented. Lines of static filled most of the files. But between the broken sequences, images flashed. A blue and green sphere, oceans and continents, clouds swirling. A world alive. Then, fire. Cities burned. A fleet of alien warships hung above the planet. The next images were worse. The world itself breaking apart, its pieces drifting into the void. Velric's hands trembled. Erasure. Not just conquest, but complete planetary destruction. He read the date. Cycle 91827. Over 3,000 years ago. A deep voice startled him. You should not be looking at that. Velric turned. An old archivist named Drovar stood in the doorway. His skin was pale, his robes heavy with golden thread, the mark of a senior keeper. Drovar's eyes, however, were not angry. They were tired. You know what this is? Velric asked. I know enough to tell you to stop, Drovar said. The Council decided long ago that the events concerning that world are forbidden to discuss. Why? Velric pressed. What could they have done to deserve this? Drovar hesitated. They refused to bow. The humans did not obey the Council's will. They fought, harder than any species before or since, and for that, they were wiped away. Velric frowned. Humans. He repeated the strange word silently. So that was their name? Drovar gave him a look somewhere between warning and pity. Leave it, Velric. Some ghosts should remain buried. But Velric did not leave it. 3 days later, he was in the deep scanning lab. The archives had picked up something strange, a signal from far outside charted space. Most dismissed it as background noise from a dying star. But Velric recognized patterns in the static. He ran the data through ancient translation algorithms, ones pulled from the fragments of the erased files. The signal was not noise. It was language, a slow, deliberate sequence repeated again and again, across frequencies, across wavelengths, in a tongue no one alive should know. Velric played it. Aloud, the sound strange in his ears, hard, sharp, yet filled with rhythm. He translated it. The message was short. We remember. Velric froze. 3,000 years had passed since the humans were erased. This message could not be from them, unless they had survived. He filed an urgent report to the Council. Most members laughed it off. Impossible, they said. The humans were destroyed to the last. These are the echoes of the past. But not everyone laughed. The Council's oldest members, those so ancient they had lived through the Erasure War, exchanged uneasy glances. Velric noticed. That told him more than their silence ever could. Weeks passed. Then the probes began arriving, small, fast, impossible to catch. They appeared on the edge of Council space, transmitting images before vanishing into the dark. The first probe showed a stretch of empty stars. The second, the shattered ruins of an old mining outpost. The third changed everything. It captured a fleet. The ships were like nothing in the archives. Long, jagged hulls of black, metal. Massive engines that pulsed with deep blue light. Armor layered thick as fortress walls. No markings in any known language except one. Every vessel bore the same emblem, a sphere of blue and green, crossed by white cloud patterns. Velric recognized it instantly. It was the world from the Forbidden Records. The Council demanded immediate contact with the unknown fleet. All attempts failed. No replies to hails, no acknowledgement of warning beacons. The fleet continued moving inward, straight toward the heart of Council territory. Velric followed the updates obsessively. The fleet did not attack. Instead, it skirted around heavily defended systems, knocking out unmanned relay stations and cutting off long-range communications. It was a silent advance, but with precision that made military leaders uneasy. Then, one day, Velric received a private message. The sender's identity was masked. The file was heavily encrypted. When he opened it, his heart raced. It was a close-up image of one of the unknown ships. Standing on its outer hull, staring into the camera, was a figure in a sealed suit. The visor reflected the stars, hiding the face. But on the chest plate, clear as light, were two words in bold script, words Velric had seen only once before in the old records. United Earth. The council chamber erupted when the image leaked. Some demanded an immediate strike against the incoming fleet. Others argued it was a bluff, a hoax meant to stir fear. But deep in their voices was something else. Something Velric could hear. Fear. The kind born from memory. Late one night, Velric visited Drovar again. He placed the image before the old archivist. "They're back," Velric said quietly. "Aren't they?" Drovar stared at the emblem for a long time. His hands shook slightly. "If that is true, then the galaxy is about to remember what humans are." "Why did we destroy them?" Velric asked again. His voice was harder now. What could they have done that was so terrible? Drovar's eyes met his. They refused to kneel, and worse, they made others believe they could stand. The next week, Council military fleets massed along the inner defense lines. Every ship was on high alert. Civilian travel was suspended. News channels were censored, but the rumors spread faster than any official statement. An ancient enemy had returned. Velric managed to gain access to one of the border observation stations. From here, he could watch the approach of the unknown fleet. Days passed in tense silence. Then, the sensors lit up. They came like a wall of darkness, hundreds of ships sliding out of faster-than-light jumps, their hulls blotting out the stars. Velric stood at the viewing deck as they passed, silent, implacable, unstoppable. Then, one ship slowed. It was larger than the rest, its black hull covered in strange markings. It halted just beyond the station's range, facing the heart of Council space. A transmission request appeared on the station's console. The frequency was old, ancient, unused for millennia. Velric accepted it. The screen flickered. A figure appeared. The face was human, pale, scarred, eyes like steel. The voice was deep, each word carrying weight. "This is the Vanguard," the human said. "We come for what was taken." The screen went dark. Velric's hands were cold. He had seen the records. He had read the lies. Now the truth had come to stand at the Council's door. The Galactic Council's capital world, Drelvos Prime, was a jewel of the stars. Spanning 3 continents and 2 oceans, it was home to billions from dozens of species. Towers of crystal and alloy reached the clouds, and floating transit lines connected districts in a web of motion. But today, the city was tense. Everywhere, screens and hollow feeds replayed the same image. The black, jagged ships moving through the void, each carrying the blue and green emblem. The council had not confirmed their identity. Official statements called them unknown forces, yet, in the hidden corners of the city, in taverns, in the quiet corners of research labs, in encrypted comm channels, another word was spoken: humans. In the Grand Council chamber, a storm of voices filled the air. 100 seats circled a central platform where the Supreme Speaker tried to maintain order. "They were destroyed," barked Chancellor Vorish of the Krell Dominion. His scaled fists pounded the table. "The human race was wiped from existence. This is an imposter fleet, perhaps pirates using old symbols to inspire fear." "You were not alive during the Erasure War, Chancellor," said Elder Nyrus of the Lissari, her voice calm but sharp. "I was. I saw their ships. I saw their worlds burn and ours nearly join them. These are no imposters." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some representatives looked afraid, others tried to hide it. Velric sat high in the public observation. Ring. As an archivist, he had no voice here, but his clearance had allowed him entry. He studied the elders carefully. Their faces carried not just fear, but guilt. Outside the chamber, in the narrow halls, Velric found Drovar leaning on his E. "Kane, they remember," Velric said quietly. Drovar nodded. "And they want the galaxy to remember too. The signals they send are not just for us. They are for every world under the Council's control. It is a message, one that will break our rule." Velric frowned. What are they waiting for? If they want war, why not attack? The old archivist's eyes darkened. Because fear is sharper than any blade. They are cutting without firing a single shot. The next day, the human fleet moved again. Not toward military strongholds, but toward the outer trade routes. In 3 systems, their ships appeared without warning. Instead of destroying stations, they shut them down with precise energy bursts. Patrol craft were left adrift, unharmed, but powerless. Then came the broadcasts. Across hundreds of worlds, every comm channel was hijacked for a single minute. The message was the same everywhere, a black screen. White text in every major galactic language. We remember. In some worlds, the text faded into an image. The destruction of Earth, pulled from ancient council archives no civilian should have. Flames, shattering continents, the silent drift of a broken world. The reaction was immediate. On many worlds, citizens demanded answers from their local leaders. On others, riots broke out as old whispers of council tyranny resurfaced. The humans were not just advancing. They were turning the galaxy against its rulers. Velric dug deeper. Using his archivist clearance, he traced the human signal to its likely source, not one but dozens of origin points scattered across deep space. This meant the fleet was larger than the council believed, far larger. Late that night, as he studied an intercepted transmission, Velric's console beeped, a private comm request. The ID was hidden. He accepted. A figure appeared on his screen, helmeted, face hidden. "You are the one who searches," the voice said. It was deep, human, and filled with quiet weight. Velric swallowed. "Who are you?" "Not important," the human said. "You look for the truth. Here it is. Your council committed genocide. They erased our home, hunted our people, and thought us gone. For 3,000 years we built, we learned, we prepared. Now we return." "Why contact me?" Velric asked, voice trembling. "Because when the reckoning begins, some will ask why. You will tell them." The transmission ended before Velric could speak again. 2 days later, the council called for a full military mobilization. Fleets were pulled from border defense to guard core systems. War production increased. The media was ordered to frame the humans as aggressors, but the stories had little effect. The images of Earth's destruction had burned too deep into the public mind. Elder Nyrus stood before the chamber, her voice steady. "I warned you. The humans do not bluff. They do not posture. When they say they will act, they will act. We have perhaps weeks before they reach the core worlds." "And what do you suggest?" Chancellor Vorish snapped. "That we surrender to a relic of the past?" "I suggest," Nyrus replied coldly, "that we face the truth and prepare for consequences we cannot escape." On the fringes of Council space, the first skirmish took place. A patrol fleet of 12 warships intercepted a small human detachment near the Lothran belt. The battle lasted less than 6 minutes. Survivors reported that human ships moved like predators, slipping between sensor locks, striking with weapons that bent shields like paper. Yet, strangely, the humans disabled rather than destroyed. The last surviving captain recalled a transmission from the human commander. "We will not slaughter your crews. We are not you." The council tried to hide the incident, but word spread. Rumors said the humans fought not to conquer, but to make the council kneel publicly. Velric walked through the lower districts of Drelvos Prime, hearing fragments of conversation. "They say the humans want trials, not war. My grandfather told me they were demons in the last war. Now they're judges? I'd join them if it meant tearing the council apart." The air was shifting. The fear the council had ruled with for centuries was being redirected toward the council itself. 3 weeks after the first contact, it happened. One human ship appeared at the edge of Drelvos Prime's system. It was scarred and battered, as if from ancient battles, but its presence froze the system's defense grid. Velric was there in the orbital observatory when the transmission came. The human captain appeared again, the same one who had spoken to him before. "This is only our vanguard," the captain said. "We have come to deliver justice. The council's time is over." The feed cut, leaving only silence. In that silence, Velric felt the weight of history pressing down. The whispers were no longer whispers. The dead had returned. The council's fleet had never felt so powerless. Thousands of ships, each armed with the deadliest weapons known to the galaxy, now floated in orbit like statues, unable to stop a force no one fully understood. Velric watched from the observation deck of the Supreme Command Station. He had never seen fear so deeply etched into the faces of council leaders. Even the seasoned generals who had survived multiple wars looked uncertain. Reports streamed in from the outer systems. The humans had appeared in multiple sectors almost simultaneously. Entire patrol fleets vanished without a trace, their systems disabled, engines frozen, communications cut. The humans moved like shadows, striking only to disable, never to kill. They are not here for war. Not yet, Velric whispered to himself, staring at the star maps that now showed the human fleet converging toward the core worlds. Council debates had turned chaotic. Chancellor Vorish banged his fists on the conference table. "We cannot let them reach the capital. Mobilize every fleet. Fire on sight." Elder Nyrus responded calmly. "And what will you accomplish? You have no idea of their strength. You attack, and you will only prove their point, that the Council cannot protect itself." Velric had begun to understand what Nyrus meant. The humans were showing power without aggression, fear without destruction. Every move they made demonstrated intelligence, strategy, and patience. Drovar had warned him long ago, fear is sharper than any blade. Now Velric saw the truth in action. On a remote station near the system of Marix 9, Velric finally witnessed a human ship up close. The vessel hovered silently, black and jagged, its hull reflecting starlight like a mirror. No weapons fired, Yet every sensor in the station screamed danger. A comm request appeared on Velric's console. He hesitated, then accepted. The human captain's face appeared. Unlike before, this one was unmasked. Pale, sharp-featured, eyes glinting with steel determination. "You are Velric," the captain said. "Archivist. You have studied what others cannot see. You will tell the galaxy the truth." Velric swallowed. "Why not attack? Why not destroy the council immediately?" The captain's expression was calm, but intense. "Because destruction is not our goal. The council has hidden its crimes for millennia. The galaxy must see. The council must face judgment, and every species must understand that no one can vote to erase another." Velric's mind raced. Judgment, not war. Yet even with no weapons fired, the council's leaders were already trembling. In the capital, the Supreme Speaker ordered a full inspection of all human transmissions. The elders discovered something shocking. The fleet was far larger than previously imagined. The images showed city-sized vessels carrying billions of people, complete with farms, factories, and living quarters. "They are not just warships," whispered a junior officer. "They are moving civilizations." Naira stood in the chamber, her voice steady as she addressed the council. "These ships were built over centuries in secret. Entire generations have prepared for this moment. The humans are not merely returning. They have evolved into something beyond any military we have ever known." Panic spread. Council worlds began enacting emergency measures, evacuations, resource stockpiling, fleets scrambled to reinforce vulnerable systems. Yet the humans continued their advance without aggression, moving with precision and control. Velric knew that the Council's fear was their weakness, exactly what the humans intended. One day, a human fleet entered the Po, system of Therion, a key trade hub and military outpost. Velric watched in horror as the humans disabled every orbital weapon platform, every shipyard, and even the planet's communication arrays, all without a single shot fired. The Council's generals were stunned. They had trained for combat, for resistance, for war. But they had never seen an enemy move like this. A transmission appeared on every channel. "We remember what you did to our home. Your fleets, your stations, your leaders, all will face the consequences. You have 7 days." The message was simple, yet it carried more weight than any barrage of weapons. It reached every inhabited system in the galaxy. Panic rippled, outward like a shock wave. Velric's curiosity led him to the outskirts of human-controlled space. He requested permission to observe their society directly. A small vessel escorted him to one of the larger human ships. The interior shocked him. It was a marvel of efficiency and design. The halls were wide and clean, with automated systems handling maintenance. Yet what struck him most was the people, humans of all ages moving with purpose, calm but alert, as if every action was part of a larger plan. An officer greeted him. "You are Velric, Archivist. We have prepared files for you, evidence of the Council's crimes. You will carry this to your worlds. The galaxy must know." Velric felt a chill. He had read the records, seen the images, but this was different. These humans had lived, survived, and now returned not as victims, but as a force that could shape the galaxy's future. That evening, Velric stood on a balcony of the human vessel, gazing at the stars. Below him, the city-sized ship thrummed with energy. Ships of every size orbited nearby, moving as one organism. Drovar's words echoed in his mind. "Fear is sharper than any blade." Velric realized that the humans were not just returning for vengeance. They were returning to rewrite the rules of the galaxy. Every move, every strategy, every calculated silence was part of a plan far older than anyone in the Council could understand. And soon, the galaxy would see the full measure of it. Back. On Drelvos Prime, council leaders grew desperate. Plans of diplomacy and negotiation failed. The humans did not respond to any attempts at communication. Every fleet that approached was disabled or rendered useless before it could even engage. Whispers spread that the humans had technologies, long lost to the galaxy. Faster-than-light systems undetectable by conventional sensors, energy weapons that could pierce the strongest shields, and hulls that could resist anything the Council possessed. Velric watched as world after world began to question the Council's authority. Merchants refused to trade with fleets loyal to the Council. Governors openly defied orders. Even minor species began preparing for a future without the Council's rule. The humans' strategy was simple, yet devastating. Show power, avoid unnecessary destruction, and force the galaxy to question its rulers. 7 days. That was all the humans had promised. 7 days until the reckoning. Velric knew that when the countdown ended, the galaxy would never be the same. The humans had returned not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as judges, silent, unrelenting, and unstoppable. He looked at the emblem again, projected on the holomap, the blue and green sphere crossed by white clouds. It was not a symbol of war. It was a symbol of survival, of memory, and of justice, and soon the Council would remember what it had done. The final hours of Part 3 drew near. Velric received a last private transmission from the human captain. "You are the witness," the voice said. "When the galaxy sees the truth, it will remember that no one can erase a people and live without consequence. Prepare them." The feed ended. Velric's heart pounded. He understood now the humans' return was not just a threat. It was a revelation. Across the stars, fleets moved silently. The humans were no longer just approaching. They were everywhere at once. Shadows over the stars, stretching toward the Council's core worlds, ready to deliver judgment. The 7-day countdown began with a silence that was heavier than any war cry. Across the Council worlds, alarms blared, fleets scrambled, and citizens stared at skies that had never seemed so threatening. Velric stood on the observation platform of Drelvos Prime. From here, he could see the stars lit with incoming human vessels, thousands of ships, moving in perfect formation. Not a single ship fired, yet the presence alone shook the Council to its core. The Supreme Speaker addressed the Council, his voice quivering. "We have underestimated them. Our fleets are useless. Our defenses are meaningless. What are we to do?" Elder Nyrus stepped forward, her eyes calm, almost cold. "We survive by understanding. They are not here to destroy our people. They are here to make the Council accountable. Our time is ending. Every leader, every fleet, every system, all will face the truth." Whispers ran through the chamber. Some Council members gasped. Others tried to mask their fear with anger. But Velric could see it clearly. Panic had taken root. Across Drelvos Prime, life changed overnight. Trade routes were closed, markets emptied. Citizens stayed inside their homes, eyes fixed on distant skies. Soldiers patrolled streets in heavy armor, though they knew it was useless. Everyone waited for the inevitable, though no one could say what inevitable would truly look like. Velric walked through the lower districts, seeing the fear firsthand. Merchants whispered to one another, questioning why they had obeyed the Council for so long. Children stared at holographic news feeds, replaying the images of the human ships appearing in distant systems, disabling fleets without a single casualty. "The humans, they're not killing anyone," a merchant muttered. "Yet they terrify. The entire galaxy. How is that possible?" Velric shook his head. "They are showing power without violence. That is why everyone fears them." "Fear is sharper than blades," Drovar said. "And now, the galaxy feels it." On the front lines, Council fleets attempted one last defensive measure. They massed in the Orcs sector, a critical choke point. Generals and admirals issued orders, but the humans moved faster than sensors could track. Velric watched as the first human vanguard engaged. They did not fire. They did not ram. They disabled every ship with precision energy pulses, leaving crews alive but helpless. A council officer reported over comm, "They are not attacking us yet, but our ships are useless. The humans have proven they can neutralize our entire fleet without a single casualty." Velric felt a cold chill. This was not just strategy. This was psychological warfare. As the days passed, news of human actions spread like wildfire. Entire systems began defecting from the council's control. Governors and mayors publicly refused to follow orders. Merchants and civilians prepared for the collapse of the central authority. Even the military was divided. Some fleets refused to fire on the humans. Others tried to retreat, only to be stopped by sudden invisible interference. Velric received another private transmission from the human captain. "You are watching history, Velric," the voice said. "Do not intervene. The galaxy must learn the truth on its own. Prepare them." Velric realized the humans were teaching without teaching. Every disabled ship, every captured transmission, every silent vanguard was a lesson in power and patience. Drelvos Prime, the Supreme Speaker, convened an emergency council session. The planet's orbital defenses monitored the skies, every weapon ready. 7 days remain, he said, his voice tight. "We must prepare for all eventualities." Elder Nyrus stood. 7 days is all the time we have. In that week, the humans will decide our fate. They are not mindless attackers. They are judges, carrying the memory of what we did. The galaxy is watching, and every species will see who holds the moral high ground. The room fell silent. Velric knew the truth of her words. The humans had not only returned for vengeance, they had returned to rewrite the rules of the galaxy. Velric requested to observe a human fleet at close range. A vessel of extraordinary size escorted him into the heart of the fleet. Inside, he saw humans of all ages, moving with purpose, not panic. Systems ran automatically. The people were calm, efficient, and disciplined. An officer approached him. "Velric, Archivist, you will witness the preparation of justice. We carry not only weapons but evidence. The Council's crimes will be revealed. Every species must see what was done to our home." Velric shivered. This was not war. It was history in motion, and he, a single archivist, was part of it. Across the galaxy, tension mounted. Communications were jammed. Trade was interrupted. Citizens of dozens of species feared their leaders more than the humans themselves. Entire worlds began preparing for collapse, knowing the Council's time had ended. Velric walked along the observation decks, seeing the weight of history in motion. Ships moved in perfect formation, silent but menacing. Each pulse of energy, each maneuver was deliberate. Not destruction, but demonstration. Not war, but judgment. Drovar's words echoed again. "Fear is sharper than any blade." The humans did not need to fire weapons. They did not need to conquer. Every fleet disabled, every station frozen, every broadcast sent, reminded the galaxy of what power without mercy could feel like. On the final day of the countdown, Velric received a message directly from the human. "Captain, tomorrow the judgment begins," the captain said. "The Council's leaders will face the evidence. The galaxy will watch. Prepare them to see the truth." Velric swallowed hard. He understood now. The humans' method was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They did not simply attack. They demonstrated the consequences of past crimes, forcing the Council, and all who followed it, to reckon with history. That evening, Velric stood atop a tower in Drelvos Prime. The stars stretched above, black and silent. In the distance, human ships shimmered, vast and silent, a reminder of what was coming. Citizens gathered below, watching in awe and fear. Some whispered prayers, others wept. Soldiers lowered weapons, unable to comprehend the presence of these unknown masters of strategy. Velric felt a strange sense of both dread and awe. He had read the old records, seen the images of Earth destroyed. Now he was witnessing the survivors, thousands of years later, ready to bring judgment not just for themselves, but for the entire galaxy. He understood the humans' purpose. They were not killers. They were witnesses. They were judges. They were the memory of a species that would never be erased again. The week ended. The countdown reached 0. Across the galaxy, silence fell. Not a single human ship fired. Not a single world was destroyed. Yet every council fleet, every station, every leader trembled. The humans were ready. Velric watched from Drelvos Prime as the largest human vessel, the Eternal Resolve, positioned itself above the capital system. Its massive hull reflected the starlight like a dark mirror. Then, the transmission appeared, on every channel across every system. "This is the Vanguard," the human captain said, standing on the bridge of the Eternal Resolve. "Your time is over. The crimes of the past will be judged. The Council will face the galaxy. Every species will see what was done. The people you erased, they return." The screen went dark. Velric felt a chill. The galaxy had changed in a week. The humans had achieved more without firing a weapon than the Council had in thousands of years of rule, and the reckoning had only just begun. The Council worlds braced for the arrival of the human forces. Leaders huddled in secure chambers. Citizens stayed in their homes. Fleets floated impotent in space. Across thousands of light years, fear reigned. Not because of destruction, but because the humans had shown what true power looked like. Velric walked through the streets, seeing eyes filled with awe and terror. He knew the humans' return was more than vengeance. It was a lesson in justice, discipline, and survival. For 3,000 years, the galaxy had forgotten Earth. Now it would remember, and no one would escape the truth. The galaxy held its breath. After 7 days of silent dread, the Council worlds waited for the final act. Ships floated in orbit, weapons armed but useless. Citizens stared at the skies, unable to look away from the fleet that had changed everything. And at the center of it all, above Drelvos Prime, hovered the Eternal Resolve, the largest vessel anyone had ever seen. Velric watched from the observation tower, heart pounding. He had witnessed the humans' approach, their precise strategy, their silent demonstration of power. But he had never expected the scale of what was about to unfold. The Supreme Speaker convened one last emergency session. Council members from dozens of species crowded into the chamber. Their voices trembled, their hands shook, and fear was etched into every face. "Today," the speaker began, "we face the unknown. If these ships attack, none of us will survive." Elder Nyrus stepped forward. "They do not attack. They bring judgment. They come not to conquer, but to ensure the galaxy remembers what we have done." A hush fell over the chamber. In orbit, human ships moved with silent precision. They did not fire weapons. They did not land troops. Instead, screens across the galaxy lit up with recordings, images, videos, and evidence taken from Council archives from every system that had known Earth. Velric watched as the first broadcast appeared. The destruction of Earth, the burning cities, the shattered oceans. He had seen these images before, but now they were displayed in real time with commentary, dates, and testimonies. Witnesses from every species who had seen the human planet's fall spoke, explaining the events in detail. The Council could not hide. Every crime was laid bare for billions of beings to see. On Drelvos Prime, panic turned to chaos. Citizens poured. into the streets, shouting and pointing at the screens. "We were lied to!" someone yelled. "The Council destroyed a world!" Fleets across the galaxy faltered. Soldiers refused orders. Generals questioned their leaders. Entire systems began defecting from Council control. Velric realized the humans had achieved something far greater than any weapon could. They had shattered the Council's authority without a single shot. A human ship, smaller than the Eternal Resolve but sleek and imposing, entered Drelvos Prime's orbit. A transmission was sent directly to the Supreme Speaker. "This is the Tribunal," the human captain said. "You and your council members will come with us. You will face the judgment of the galaxy. Refusal will not lead to death, but to permanent removal from power. Your time has ended." The council leaders hesitated. For millennia they had ruled with fear and control. Now even their authority was meaningless. Velric felt the weight of history pressing down. The humans had returned not as conquerors, but as arbiters of justice. The Supreme Speaker, trembling, finally agreed. The council members boarded the human vessel. Velric accompanied them as an observer, the witness chosen by the humans. Inside the tribunal chamber, the council members were placed on platforms before holographic displays. Across the room, representatives of every species that had suffered under the council's rule appeared. Some live, some through records, all watching. The human captain stood at the center. "The crimes of the past cannot be ignored. Today, every decision, every vote, every act of genocide is laid bare. You will answer, and the galaxy will remember. The evidence unfolded in meticulous detail. Every planet destroyed, every fleet erased, every lie told to cover the Council's crimes, all were presented clearly. The Council members could not deny a single fact." Velric watched as fear replaced arrogance on the faces of the Supreme, Speaker, and elders. They had always believed themselves untouchable. Now even their memories of past victories offered no comfort. The tribunal did not seek revenge. No weapons were fired. No worlds were destroyed. The humans' justice was far more devastating, the truth itself. Across the galaxy, beings of every species watched the tribunal. The Council's lies crumbled. The humans had returned not to kill, but to force the galaxy to see. Velric realized something profound. This was humanity at its highest form. Their power was not just in strength, but in discipline, intelligence, and moral clarity. After hours of testimony, the tribunal delivered its verdict. The Council's leadership was stripped of all authority. Fleets were disbanded. Decisions previously made by the Council were nullified. A new interstellar alliance was announced, one in which no species could vote to erase another. The galaxy erupted in relief and awe. Citizens cheered. Governors and mayors pledged loyalty to the new alliance. Fleets that had once feared the humans now moved to support the new order. Velric felt a sense of wonder. The humans had returned for vengeance, yes, but their vengeance was measured, just, and transformative. Outside, the human fleet hovered silently. Ships of every size moved in perfect formation, a demonstration of unity and discipline. The Eternal Resolve remained above Drelvos Prime, calm and steady. Velric walked through the tribunal chamber. He saw council members humbled, not broken, by weapons, but by truth. Some wept. Some stared in silence. None resisted. One of the humans approached him. "You have been our witness," the officer said. "Now carry this story to the galaxy. Let all know what it means to survive, to endure, and to return." Velric nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. He had seen history rewritten before. His eyes, and he knew that humanity had set a new standard for the galaxy, one of justice, courage, and unyielding memory. In the days that followed, the Council's power disintegrated. Former allies abandoned them. Worlds once loyal began building their own governments, no longer fearing centralized control. Trade resumed under fair rules. Species that had once suffered in silence were given a voice. Velric documented everything. Every detail, every image, every testimony would be recorded in the archives, this time not erased or hidden. Humanity had returned to rewrite history, and now history would remember. One evening, Velric stood on the observation deck of Drelvos. Prime. The stars were calm, yet the galaxy felt alive with new possibilities. Human ships moved among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians of a memory too powerful to forget. Drovar's words echoed in his mind. Fear is sharper than any blade. Velric smiled faintly. Humanity had proved it true. They had returned not with fire, but with purpose. And the galaxy had never felt a force more unstoppable. The emblem of Earth, blue and green with swirling white clouds, floated above the stars. No longer a forgotten symbol, it now represented survival, justice, and the courage to face impossible odds. The humans had returned for vengeance. But in the end, they had given the galaxy something far greater. A chance to be better, a chance to remember, and a future shaped by justice instead of fear. Velric gazed at the stars, knowing that the story of humanity's return would echo for millennia. The Council had been defeated, not by weapons, but by truth, discipline, and the strength of a people who refused to be erased.